Winning the award for the most unfortunate release date of 2023 is Towers and Powers. It launched around the same time as Assassin's Creed Nexus, Arizona Sunshine 2, Resident Evil 4, and to make it even worse, literally the exact same day as Asgard's Wrath 2. Overshadowed is an understatement. Now, Towers and Powers is by no means better than those games, but I did enjoy my time with it. Before I get to explaining the game, right now over on my Discord, I'm giving away a copy of The Light Brigade and Toss for the Quest Store, and Devour and Pistol Whip for Steam VR. There are currently around 20 or so people in my server, so your chances of winning are extremely high. I have pinned a link to the Discord in the comment section of this video. Okay, back to the video. Towers and Powers is a godlike tower defense game, and it's a pretty good one. It retails for $17. It's available for PSVR 2, Steam VR, and AppLab. I, however, received the PSVR 2 version of the game for free through a content creator program. VR tower defense is hard to get right, as they can feel a little spammy if the player is very hands-on in the defense, or boring if you just sit back and watch events unfold. I've also seen other tower defense games that try to include motion controls, but they end up as kind of a frustrating gimmick. But Towers and Powers incorporates VR pretty well, and it keeps you engaged. You're always busy managing something, whether it's deploying barricades, moving tower pieces around, or even plucking explosive elements out of the air and bombing the monsters below. The core of Towers and Powers revolves around mixing and matching the 6 different unit types to build towers. The units can stand and defend in person, but you'll want to keep them in the tower most of the time. To build a tower, simply grab or hire a unit and drop them on one of the designated spots. Each tower maxes out at 3 levels, and the unit on the top level of the tower dictates the type of attack that the tower puts out. However, the other units in the tower provide thematic upgrades. Some upgrades are passive, like increasing damage or rate of fire, but others cause secondary attacks to chain to other monsters. The game really encourages you to mix and match units to make the best possible defenses. But let's look at an example. This tower is topped off with a Viking who does high single target damage but attacks slow, but the peasant can help with that. Then we have an engineer on the bottom layer providing an extra attack that chains to multiple targets. The order of the first and second floors don't matter. The benefits are just based on the unit type. So any peasant who's not on the top floor will always provide the same attack speed bonus, and so on. But stacking multiple units of the same type in a tower upgrades their bonus effect. Further upstream here, we have this monk tower, whose AoE attack weakens monsters. On level 2 is another monk tower, providing extra damage. But on level 1 is another engineer, whose chain lightning effect now deals extra damage when it chains, because remember, the monk attacks weaken enemies. And the best part is that experimentation is encouraged, because at any time you can pluck a unit out of a tower and put them atop a different one, or just build a new one entirely. In fact, this is a skill that you'll need to master in the later stages of the game, as you need to shift your defenses to different lanes, oftentimes during the assault. However, your units can do more than just construct towers. The arcane ones can occupy altars, giving you stuff like throwable magic powers. And your other units? Have them labor away in the workshops, building things like barricades, mines, or even spike traps, depending on which unit you assign to the shop. And then we have the upgrader. If you man it with a Viking, they will upgrade that previously constructed barricade so that it now reflects damage. But toss a monk in the upgrader, and suddenly attackers who dare touch it find themselves weakened. And to be successful in this game, I think you really need a balanced approach. And one of the biggest compliments I can give this game, I often found myself thinking about this game in all the different ways to assign a unit when I wasn't even playing it. Overall, the unit system here works extremely well. On the surface, it seems like you have just 6 different types of towers, but then the uses for those units quickly multiply once you're introduced to all the other stuff. It's intuitive, easy to grasp, and has a surprising amount of depth. Managing the units, grabbing barricades, and upgrading them, and so on, keeps you busy and engaged, and you don't feel overloaded or stressed out. And every unit you hire is useful, even the cheap peasants. Sometimes you just want the peasant for its attack speed bonus in another tower, or maybe you find it's best to have them clog up lanes with barricades. You're also always listening and on the lookout for these golden snitch-like flying orbs that you can Harry Potter out of midair. Some are just power-ups, but others can be thrown for dramatic effect. The orbs are nothing revolutionary, but they are fun, and it's an effective way to incorporate motion controls, and it keeps you further engaged. In fact, one of the early levels had you catching cannonballs fired from an enemy Viking longboat and redirecting them towards the monsters. But sadly, this was a bit of an anomaly. No other levels do this or anything really like it. It feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. It would have been fun to have stuff like a volcano bursting out molten rocks, or even something like a rock slide or tsunami that you would be forced to redirect. I mean, you are a deity, after all. But when shit gets really intense, channel your inner child and draw some shapes in the sky to activate one of your godlike powers to rain down death from above. But they do take a long time to recharge, so pick the perfect moment. And I never once miscast a god power. I mean, most of them are the easy shapes your kindergarten teacher had you drawing, but why overcomplicate something with intricate runes or extremely specific gestures that require a lot of practice to only frustrate more than help? The god powers aren't wildly creative. I bet you can guess what most of them are, but it's certainly satisfying to watch a load of fireballs save your ass. And that's pretty much the core of Towers and Powers. There are 15 stages in total, and each one will take you somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes to complete. For me, it took me around 5 hours to get to the final stage. But right now, I can't beat the last damn level. It's kicking my ass. I'm not going to show it on screen here, but it might just be a tad too punishing. And I don't just think it's me. And I think it's unfortunate that this game stumbled right at the finish line. I even turned the difficulty down to easy, and I still got completely destroyed. I cruised through the first 10 stages with kind of a moderate challenge. Stages 11 through 14 are when it starts to really get Olympic and demand that you multitask and shift units around on the fly. But the last stage, it's just an outlier. And it did reveal what I think is a flaw in the management of your units. You can only put a unit on the top of a tower. If you're quickly shifting stuff around, it can get a little messy, as your towers can get scrambled. I wish there was a way you could grab a unit and just insert them into the middle of a tower. Most of the time, I just want to upgrade what the top unit is doing. But to do that, you have to remove the top layer and then add the new unit and then put the top layer back on. You can't even hold 2 units at once, despite having, well, 2 hands. It would also be nice if I could somehow pick up an entire tower and just relocate it without having to deconstruct it first. I also think this game could use a codex. There are probably 5 or 6 different ways to use each unit, and it's just hard to remember all the different things they can do. I also think there needs to be a codex page reminding you of all the gesture abilities. I've forgotten a few and tend to just rely on my kindergarten shapes. The only way to see the gestures again is to go back and play the levels where they were first introduced, and that doesn't help me in the heat of battle on wave 4 of 8. So, do I recommend the game? Well, if you're in the market for a tower defense game, or if you're looking for a good seeded game, then yes, I do recommend it. If tower defense isn't your thing, then no, probably not, but I did enjoy my time with it. It's smooth and pretty well balanced despite that last stage. And Towers and Powers does have a fair amount of depth. Now, I don't think too many people will really be spending hundreds of hours playing this game, but for $17, I think it's worth a purchase, and definitely if you can catch it on a sale. I always like having a good seeded game to change up the pace, and who knows, maybe with more feedback, the developer will tweak that final stage. And that's it for today's video. If you're interested in the games I'm giving away, remember to head over to my Discord to enter the giveaways. Let me know in the comments if Towers and Powers is a game for you. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.